Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Unfiltered Feed. Today we need to discuss something incredibly important, not only for you and your family, but also for our beloved fur babies. It's a term that you have probably heard before, but you might not fully understand the danger that it poses. Rabies is a deadly virus that can be spread to people from the saliva of infected animals. Symptoms of rabies are fever, headache, blurred or double vision, weakness and fatigue, mental confusion like forgetting what has happened, pain and tingling in your muscles, muscle spasms, uncontrollable jerks, loss of appetite, hallucinations, delirium, fear of water, hydrophobia, nausea, vomiting, paralysis, muscle weakness. Sensitivity to lights, aggression or irritability, anxiety, brain death, brain swelling, difficulty swallowing, dilated pupils, drooling, excessive salivation, headaches, seizures, stiff neck, and if you are experiencing most of these symptoms, more than likely you, my friend, are going to have a very slim chance of surviving. Rabies actually doesn't start to show symptoms until about 2 weeks to a month. But when you actually start experiencing those side effects that I just mentioned earlier, it's usually too late. Just a disclaimer for anybody who's watching this. This is not something that you should take lightly. This is a very serious thing. Thankfully though, today, especially in the United States, we have a lot of preventative measures for rabies. Most people get their pets vaccinated for rabies and stuff like that. So it's not really something that's very common anymore, and it's really not something you have to worry about too much. But, there's always that chance. And I would say the likelihood of you catching rabies from a dog, especially in the United States, is probably pretty slim. But if we're talking about like a bat or a raccoon or something like that, or even a coyote, those are the type of animals here in the United States that are most likely to carry rabies. So just be safe out there, guys. And if you do encounter any kind of wild animal or creature, don't handle it unless you are a professional. If you need to get help from animal control or something like that, I would highly suggest you do that before you try and handle any type of wild animal. It doesn't matter if it's a bat or any kind of small animal. It could still be deadly if you anyways, guys, let's get back into our video. 70% of human cases are caused by bat bites. In the United States, fewer than 10 people die each year from the rabies virus. The number of deaths by rabies has declined dramatically due to robust preventative efforts, particularly pet vaccination and animal control programs. Rabies is present in over 150 countries, but 95% of cases and deaths occur in Africa and Asia. The first person known to survive rabies without receiving the life-saving vaccine was Ganna Dees, who was bitten by a small bat at church on her finger. Jenna was only 15 at the time, and by the time she started showing major symptoms of the rabies virus, it was predicted to be already too late. Miraculously, however, Jenna, against all odds, was able to not only survive the virus, but she went on to live a mostly normal life. After the long battle with the virus, and also thanks to a large group of dedicated doctors committed to do everything to save her life. She miraculously survived the ordeal, and she also graduated high school and even got a bachelor's degree. The recovery process was brutal, and in fact, Jenna herself even said that she had to basically relearn how to do everything as a 15-year-old. She had to learn how to talk again, walk again, move around, everything. I don't think a lot of us would even halfway understand the willpower and the strength that would take just in order to not only survive, but also to have to relearn how to do everything again. Like, that takes a lot of strength. The life-saving experimental drug procedure, known as the Milwaukee Protocol, was developed by Dr. Rodney Willoughby, is thought to be responsible for saving the young girl's life. The protocol consisted of placing the patient in a medically induced coma, administering antiviral medications, and monitoring her brain activity to protect her body and to allow her body to heal while her body developed antibodies to the virus. Ketamine was also used alongside other drugs to help her body to build up antibodies to the rabies virus. While her whole body was closely monitored for about a month, they slowly began to taper her off the ketamine, the medicine to keep her in the coma, some barbiturates, benzos, and mood stabilizers, seizure medications, and etc. Before her, there had been nobody that had ever survived a case of rabies after it got to that point. But they basically pulled doctors, since she was so young, and she's so young and she has her whole life ahead of her. These doctors did not want her to lose her life. So in the children's hospital, they pulled doctors from like every single unit together. They had a group of 20 doctors, and they all kind of researched ways of how they could maybe save her. And the doctor that was mentioned, he is the one who actually came up with the Milwaukee Protocol, and that's what it's called to this day. And it has been used in other cases as well to help people survive rabies.
Milwaukee Protocol has since been used since 2004 and has saved the lives of 2 more people in the United States, 4 more in Peru, and 1 each in Colombia, Brazil, Chile, and Qatar. I forgot to mention when this all went down. It was around the year 2004. Before Gianna's recovery from this scary virus, there were no recorded survivors of this deadly virus.
So after Jenna was kind of tapered off all of these drugs, she did start to improve, and her vital signs, her brain activity, everything started to improve. Unfortunately, she did develop a fever when they first started kind of tapering her off everything, so they kind of had to wean her back on to all of these drugs and just kind of hope that this fever would go away. And after about a week, the fever did start to go away. Actually, what they did was they lowered the room temperature a little bit, and that actually helped to bring her fever down. And then after her fever started coming down, they were able to wean her off of all these medicines, and she, her vital signs were surprisingly good for everything that she had went through, and just the slim chance that she had for survival. It was very shocking and also very heartwarming for all of these doctors that were working really hard to monitor her progress, and all these doctors that were trying to save her life were just very relieved to see some kind of progress. But she wasn't out of the water yet, guys. Once she came out of the coma, their worst fear was actually her being locked in. And when you're locked in, basically, you can, like, you're aware of everything that's going on around you, but you're completely paralyzed and you can't talk, you can't move, you can't do anything. And I feel like that's like, anybody's worst nightmare, right? Is being in a state like that and, not being able to communicate whether you're actually there or not. That was actually one of the doctor's fears. But miraculously, when she came out and came to, and they started bringing her out of this coma, the doctor had asked her if she could look over at her mother. And surprisingly and just amazingly, she was able to look over at her mother and hold eye contact with her mother. And that's basically when they knew, and the doctors knew, that, like, she had a good chance at basically surviving this. And they didn't know, if she was going to be able to even walk, or like how extensive her recovery was going to be, because like I said, like, they'd never seen this before. Nobody had ever survived rabies up to that point. So it was just freaking stellar moment for those doctors to witness her be able to hold eye contact with her mom. The Milwaukee Protocol has since been used ever since as a last resort treatment plan for those with the rabies virus, especially if the virus has been allowed to progress without early medical intervention. However, not everyone in the medical community sees it that way. Some people believe that the only reason some of these patients survived the virus was not due to the Milwaukee Protocol. It's not a pre-programmed immunity at the DNA level. The natural immunity isn't universal, and it's thought to be related to the interaction between the host's immune system and the rabies virus. So, what do you guys think? Did the Milwaukee Protocol save Jenna's life, or do you believe she had some sort of natural resistance to the virus?
By the way, before we go, I just wanted to say that the person in this video is real. Please be respectful and kind. Any hateful comments will be deleted.
Let me know what you guys think, and let me know if you guys have ever heard this story, because this was a wild one. And I actually just heard about this not too long ago. So, yeah, I wanted to share it with all you guys to see if maybe you guys knew. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching me on the Unfiltered feed. I will catch you guys again soon for our next video. But in the meantime, you guys take good care of yourselves, and I will catch you guys later.
Don't forget to like, share, and follow, or subscribe.